My name's Evan, and these are my colleagues Andrew and Michael, and our religion was Islam. So some facts of Islam is it is a monastic religion, meaning only one God. You can trace the origin of Islam back into the 7th century in Saudi Arabia. There are 5 pillars of practice in Islam. These practices must be undertaken with the best of effort in order to be considered a true Muslim. A declaration of faith is a statement of proclaiming the belief in one God and that Muhammad is a prophet of the God. To be Muslim, a person simply recites this statement publicly and in Arabic. Formal prayer 5 times a day. Poor due tax 2.5% of one excess wealth given to the needy once a year. Fasting during the daylight hours in the month of Ramadan, and pilgrimage to Mecca at least once if physically and financially able.
Here are some more facts about Islam. There are 6 articles of faith in Islam. These are the basic beliefs that one must have in order to be considered a true Muslim. They are belief in A, the one and only God, B, all the true prophets of God, C, the original scriptures revealed to Moses, David, Jesus, and Muhammad, D, the angels, and lastly, the day of judgment and the afterlife. The Muslims neither worship Muhammad or pray through him. Muslims worship the unseen creator Allah or God. Islam is not a new religion or cult. It is universal way of life and civilization. Studies show that between 1.5 and 1.8 billion people in the world identify their religion as Islam.
The evolution of Islam. Islam has changed a lot over time. Its first political change was after Muhammad fell from power, control of it, and Ali ibn Abi Talib took charge of it. His control over it, he was a lot more violent in spreading around the religion of Islam. And I guess the next social change was between 610 and 661 in Islam, where women were allowed to get an education and first allowed to get jobs.
Where it can be found today. Islam can mainly be found towards the Middle East, Central Asia, South Asia, North Africa, and some parts of Indonesia.
So some nations, Al-Qaeda was the original extremist group of the Islam region in 1070. Al-Qaeda was eliminated by the Mongols in the 13th century. The leader of the Al-Qaeda was Abdelmalik Drokado. Their goal, they wanted to rid the Muslim world of non-Muslim beliefs to have the perfect religion. They wanted to stop the organization of the base of jihad.
We chose the Al-Aqsa Mosque for our Tinkercad project. It opened in 705 AD. Over time, it has been fixed or repaired many times due to earthquakes in its region, knocking it down. This is a picture from the inside of the mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is the 3rd holiest site in the Islamic religion, and it is located in Jerusalem.
So we chose this because of its importance to Islam. The mosque is the 3rd holiest site of Islam. It is the central focus of the Muslim community of Jerusalem. And this is our rough draft.
Very rough draft.
And we had a little problem with the inside. And yeah. This is our work side.
So, any questions?
Oh boy.
Start back here.
What exactly is the relationship between Islamic and Jewish beliefs? Because it's the buildings from Jerusalem.
That's you.
And let's throw Christianity in that mix too.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned that in some way, I don't remember what way, but they all have ties somehow back to Abraham.
So that makes it an Abrahamic religion. Okay, next question.
You said the word jihad. What are those in the extremist groups, and how does relate back to
So jihad, it was an Arabic word which means to struggle or strive and like a religious aim. So like the base of like explaining in the PowerPoint, the base of jihad was like they were trying to get non-Muslim believers to go against what they wanted, and they wanted to build up. They wanted to build up and convert other Muslims to their religion or whatever.
You said something about politics, like being a big part of this. Like, how would you say politics relate to the Islamic religion?
Well, I'd say like what I meant by politics was when their new leader took charge of the religion, I guess, he was a lot more violent, like, whereas the first one, I guess, was peaceful about it and just like trying to get people to follow it. But when the new leader came in, he was more like forcing people into it, like not really giving them a choice about it.
Did y'all hear the two main groups?
I don't
There
know.
are
So.
two kinds of Muslims. Did you get into this?
Oh, I know one of them is Sunni and
Sunni.
yeah, Sunni.
Yes.
Sunni and I can't remember what the other one is.
Do you know what the differences are in the two groups?
I do not.
Kind of goes back to the question over here too. What's the relationship between the politics and the religion?
I believe it's the Sunni believe that anybody,
Their religion, politics, right?
Yeah.
Shia is religion is politics.
and the other one believes that they should just, one also believes that they should follow the true bloodline of Muhammad, the other believes that anybody can be a leader. You know, as long as you're versed in the Quran, anybody can be a leader. And that, it's a schism, again, every religion has schisms. Any other questions here? All right, you mentioned the 5 pillars of faith. What is the unofficial 6th pillar? Do you know? You've mentioned it sort of, I don't think you made the relationship though. What's the unofficial 6th pillar of faith? Explain what jihad is.
The struggle or the strive and the religious aim.
In Islamic beliefs, in the Muslims actually believe that there is an unofficial 6th pillar of faith, and it's jihad, but it's not an outward struggle, it's an inward struggle to keep God in your heart, to keep evil out. And that shows you that over time, the word jihad and the thought of jihad has evolved and changed, okay? The Al-Qaeda, I was happy you found that. What exactly what were they known as, other than, they were feared by everybody of any importance in ancient Islamic cultures, but what were they known as? Think ninjas. What were ninjas? Other than imaginary, what were ninjas? Your Al-Qaeda started out as assassins. They were developed because they didn't like the leaders. They felt your original leaders, Abu Bakr, I forget the rest of them. Even Ali, who was the son-in-law of Muhammad, was assassinated by the Al-Qaeda because they didn't like what he was doing. And of course, it's revived.
Yeah, so again, the two sides of Islam, one thing that's important to note here, you can't have somebody from each side in the same room. Most of the wars that you see in the Middle East, it's Muslim against Muslim. And it's that differing view of who is the rightful heir to Islam, the direct lineage versus anybody with talent can lead, right? So that's Sunni and Shia. So, like Iraq and Iran, the reason they fight all the time, one is Shia and one is Sunni.
Isn't there gold associated with the caliphate?
Depends on who you ask. Yeah.
And if you talk to midstream
Shia
Muslims,
is Iran, pretty sure.
Yes.
Sunni is Iraq.
no, it's the other way around.
Other way around?
Yeah.
So we get along with Shia? Not Sunni? I thought we got along with Sunni.
But I thought she, oh, that's right, because what's his name was Sunni.
Saddam Hussein was Sunni.
Sunni, yeah, okay, you're right.
So that's the thing,
Yeah.
America, we tend to like Sunni. Because Sunni are more similar to us, that religion is here and government is here. Shia is, they're more likely to have what we would call a theocracy. And we have a more difficult time dealing with those folks. So yeah, we historically support Sunni,
And that's the one where the religion and politics are separate.
yes.
Kinda, sorta.
More
More
so
so,
than the
yeah.
alternative,
And,
Yeah.
and they're also the minority.
yeah. So like Saudi Arabia, they're Sunni.
Oh, okay.
I hope I'm not saying that wrong on video. That's why they keep fighting with,
I thought that was Shia.
they also have Starbucks. They're not much like that. They
And,
sell coffee with them.
and that, Swedish furniture company, IKEA.
IKEA?
Well-
Yeah, much like theocracy, yeah, IKEA.
Now, why did you choose this mosque?
Yeah, you said it's the third most important.
And that was the next question.
Why not go for number one? Sunni. Yeah, they're Sunni. So we go along with Sunnis, yeah.
This one looks really good.
Yeah, they keep fighting in like Yemen.
Yeah.
Yemen, so there's a proxy war, kind of like US and Russia fought each other more or less in Vietnam. Saudi Arabia and Iran are more or less fighting each other in Yemen. Since the son-in-law, that's, yeah.
So,
What's the answer? You had the question of why'd you pick the third?
We just thought it
First,
looked,
second.
we just thought it looked really interesting and it'd be fun to build and, you know, get to do all these little divots and just work around with it.
so what's the first two?
The first one is the Mecca. I can't remember what the second one is.
Do you remember what happened in Mecca?
Give us a little history behind how the religion was developed?
What was he originally? I don't know if he would necessarily identify with anything.
No, he was pagan, just like the rest of them.
Yeah.
He was kind of almost leaning in a way towards Christianity slash
See, I would think so.
Judaism, yeah. 'Cause
Because
that's-
originally that's where he was,
yeah.
right?
So, a little bit of a trivia for you. I went and did a, Middle Eastern study a few months ago, about 2 months ago, about Turkey and all, and a big part of it was Islam. And they consider the Virgin Mary to be one of the holiest woman on the face of the planet. And Muslims consider her to be Muslim. On the prayer niches, where it's all the beautiful writing, she's always mentioned. And Muslim people consider her to be, that she was Muslim, she was not Jewish or Christian or anything like that.
Go back a couple slides for me. Keep going. Keep going. I'm getting a little dizzy, but that's okay. Keep going. Yeah. Back. This one I want. Yeah. Line 4-ish. Did any of you find something that you weren't expecting to see in the Islamic presentation? Yep. And we kind of talked about this when we were talking about Jerusalem, right? How many major religions consider Jerusalem the Holy of Holies? 3. If you watch a lot of the programming on television right now, you would think that Islam is like diametrically opposed to Christianity or diametrically opposed to Judaism. But understand, that's a family fight. These are all incredibly related. Jesus is not the Son of God, but he's a super important guy in the Islamic world.
And in the Jewish world.
Yeah. He's a prophet, not the prophet, right? So, did y'all find any trivia about, so when you pray 5 times a day, how does that work out? Like, what happens? Did y'all get into that ritual at all? Did you see that?
Well, I mean, I didn't see nothing big on it really. When just talking about how they prayed 5 times a day, it was mostly of like just like simple stuff every day in life, like just pray 5 times a day. So like you were going out to work, you know, pray to Allah or the Prophet Muhammad or whoever it was, their prophet, and about simple stuff.
Okay.
One of the big things you need to realize is they never, ever pray to Muhammad, ever. That's sacrilegious to them.
Yeah. Yeah, so praying through people, the only time you'll see that I'm aware of is Catholicism. God's like, I don't wanna be sacrilegious there, but, yeah, God's super busy, basically. So your prayers need to go through someone. So a lot of times you'll hear people praying to the Virgin Mary or something like that, that would then take your prayers upstairs.
Who's Catholic in here?
Sorry if I
Mary,
deeply offended
Mother
you,
of
Jessica.
God, pray for us in our hour.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now at the hour of our
I
death.
believe she is Catholic.
Yeah.
You can also pray through other saints if you so choose.
You pray for the saints, not because like God's too busy, but because they specialize in things, like they're known for like Saint Francis. I'm getting confirmed. He's gonna be my saint name, and the reason I chose him is because he cares for others. He's also a huge environmentalist, so like that's what he's a patron saint of.
Gotcha. So they have like realms where they're more
So
appropriate
you're
than others.
asking for their help in their special ability kind of sort of, like,
Because they're really good at it.
if you're traveling to St. Christopher,
But I thought he was decommissioned.
They're almost like vice president of marketing or vice president of
Yeah.
whatever
there's like the
Yes.
saint of businessmen.
He's the middleman.
cabinet position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cabinet. So
Thank
he's
you
not-
for that.
And just make sure you realize, they do not worship the saints, just like Muslims do not worship Muhammad.
Yeah,
No, no.
that would be bad. Also, just fun things as you're going through life. Just how when I ask this question should give you the answer. Do you ever depict Muhammad in any way? If I'm asking that question, what's the answer?
Wait, what was it?
Sometimes,
No, no.
sometimes.
Who's allowed to?
They really do, they have in the past, usually they show him with something over his face, but they do have pictures, they don't nowadays, because it's too
That has changed?
controversial, yes. But he has been shown in pictures and,
The Prophet Muhammad.
yeah,
So, yeah, at least in this day and age, it is considered, blaspheme to depict him, in an image or something like that. So don't do that. And especially if you guys go to Europe at all, that's a very difficult climate right now. You would want to steer away from that and just keep your mouth shut and walk away. All right. And you can research that if you want to, yeah?
So there's ISIS nowadays, and then there's Al Qaeda. Are they the same or are they different?
They're not the same.
Different.
Al Qaeda was a couple years back, and ISIS is more of a newer radical Islam group.
Do they have relations and ties together, or are they completely separate?
It's complicated. Like, ISIS is more new, and some things are different from Al Qaeda, some things are the same, and it's a lot. It really is to go
Right.
through.
Their overall goal is to just get as many people as possible to convert.
Yeah, no matter what it takes.
So that's more shit in practice.
but they just go through certain excerpts out of the
Yeah,
Quran.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
it's
probably
like-
some third
Oh, yeah.
interpretation. Do y'all know what country the Al Qaeda we associate them with?
Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran.
Good. And I shy away from the word a religious group. They are a group that claims that, but, do you know why they were founded? Do you know the history of Afghanistan at all? Or why they came to power, I should say it that way. To fight off the Soviets back in the 80s is why they came to power. And they fought a, I don't know, 12, 14-year war. Yeah, and won. So Afghanistan people have been fighting Afghanistan since it was created at the end of World War I.
And even before.
Yeah,
And the thing, what you need to realize about,
the geography.
yeah, that's what aids a lot of, the fighters, the resistance fighters. But, throughout the course of the history of that area, they have been but remember I told you the doorstep of Europe was what? Where was everybody fighting the wars in Europe? What country? What country wasn't created until 1871, but all the wars and everything were fought there? Germany? Remember how they were never united and everybody kept just fighting the wind? Yeah. Afghanistan, same idea. Relationships. Okay? Any other questions, guys? Thank you, gentlemen. You pulled it out.
Years ago, but then everything was
Yeah, but also you'd have to say the Ku Klux